Hello again, friends. Thank you for listening to this channel. I encourage you to download the ebook which we're using, Kamatthana. You should find a link here on this channel. You can follow along that way. I also encourage any of you to feel comfortable contacting me through the various options that you have on this channel, on my Facebook page or a website. Be happy to hear from you. Look forward to any questions or comments you might have. Today we're also finishing up page 2, the bottom portion of the page titled Another Version. And number 1 is dispassion, not passion. So in our culture, in the world, our emotions are seen as a blessing of some kind, and to get passionate about something means usually to get emotionally worked up over it. It can be our job, our career, our sports, our hobby, our family, our friends. It can be most anything. But the Buddha is encouraging us to take a closer look at how those passions end up creating a form of suffering for us. It's common, it's natural, you might say, for us to cling to them, to depend on them, to want to create them, so we have a feeling of being a person. So not passion doesn't mean we're dead to the world, that we don't have any interests or any intentions in the world, but we're taking out the emotional component that tends to keep us out of balance. When we're passionate, we are not tranquil, we're not equanimous, and we're not in a state of peace. So we can do things, good things in the world and for ourselves, but we don't have to have a strong emotional component to them. And if we're working in the world to make changes, it would be important that we don't have the expectation that what we do is going to result in the way we want it to be. We can do these things for the good and let go of the results. That would be one expression of not passion. Number 2, detachment, not bondage. So the first thought most people have is not to be attached to things that they own, items, material things, and that's true. Most of us are attached in some way or another. So when something gets broken, something gets lost or damaged, something gets stolen, we have a passionate response, an angry response, disappointed or heartbroken. People lose wedding rings, house fires destroy family memories, etc. And that's one form of detachment. We're going to have to examine the way in which we are attached in emotional ways, psychological ways, to expectations, to various forms of craving, and this will require that we are deepening our practice of mindfulness so that we see, oh, I didn't realize how attached I was to that. Maybe waiting for a phone call or hoping someone will include us in an event or any number of expectations that we have in personal relationships. If we're going to live a life of tranquility and equanimity and peace of mind, we have to start noticing just how attached we are. Another form of attachment that we might recognize is clinging. So we start by wanting something called craving, even if it's a good thing, someone's good health, our own good health or prosperity, happiness. That craving comes with clinging. And clinging is the real form of bondage that is at the base of our unhappiness, our suffering. If we want to be free from this suffering, these unmet expectations, these demands, then we'll have to examine how much attachment we have to various situations, people, ideas. People are extremely attached to their religion, to their religious beliefs, to their religious practices, their theories, philosophies, or science. Can be anything. But the ultimate attachment, obviously, is the belief that I am a person. That is the ultimate bondage and the most difficult for us to let go of. Number 3 is dismantling, not building up. So again, we can start with the physical world. We can see how complicated our daily life might be with all kinds of various responsibilities at work, with family, with neighbors, community, and including the plants in our home, pets, our children, the yard or garden that we're responsible to maintain. Where we can and we must examine how much joy or how much benefit our spiritual practice gets from all these possessions and responsibilities. No one can tell us which we should let go of or how much or how many, but I can remember coming back from 10-day meditation courses, and I just naturally started opening drawers, closets and cupboards, and taking things out and asking myself how necessary they were, why I considered them so valuable that I had to store them in places where I never use or see them. And it was quite liberating to declutter my home and let go of emotional attachments to things that no longer were bringing me any real satisfaction. So it's another way of talking about living simply. Previously we talked about the right measure, what's appropriate, and using little, not having to have a lot before we feel some satisfaction. So number 4 is fewness of desires, not strong desires. And the quotation, in parentheses, it says, craving, a definition for craving is the desire to acquire. This is built into our culture. It's really built into everyone's culture, but our culture is the classic example of capitalism, which by definition is a glorified form of greed, where enough is never enough. Regardless of how much we have, there are always seems to be things that we still like to have, newer models, newer versions of the updated, the must-have that we see in commercials. So when we talk about fewness of desires, the first and biggest one, and maybe easiest one to address, is the craving we have to get more stuff. It can be anything as simple as new colors of lipstick or fingernail polish, or some tool at the home builders stores. It can be just about anything, but unless we are practicing mindfulness with sincerity, we don't notice how we want stuff. We want experiences. We want to go places and see things and interact and have parties. And it's not that those things are by nature harmful or hurtful or even unhealthy. They can be, of course, drug and alcohol abuse and many forms of addictions, gambling, sexual addictions, etc., take over someone's life and often destroy their lives, and in divorce or poor health, loss of jobs, etc. We're trying to look at all the different ways that wanting stuff or experiences are driving our life. They're in the driver's seat and we are not. So we can naturally learn to observe how impulsive these desires are, how they arise in consciousness, uninvited actually. They just show up and we act on them. If they show up in consciousness, then we believe it must be me. These thoughts must be mine. It must be right or normal or good for me to act on them. But with mindfulness practice, we can just say, wait a minute, let me look at this a little closer. Let me see if I can distinguish the difference between needing and wanting. We spoke previously in the last talk about the four requisites for daily living. We need food, clothes, shelter, and access to medical care. And those needs are basic, they're essential. But how many pairs of pants or how many items in the house, how many vacations or how much money, etc., we need to examine that for ourselves, and it's nobody else's business to tell us what we should be letting go of and what has real value so far as bringing us into harmony with the laws of nature and equaling or ending with a sense of equanimity and tranquility. Number 5 is contentment, not discontent. Well, if we're desiring, we're not content. There's some emptiness, there's some itch we're trying to scratch, and by definition, we don't have a sense of being content if we're compulsively, chronically, obsessively trying to satisfy desires of any type. Nibbana, or pure mind, is totally satisfying. It doesn't make us feel like life is somehow incomplete, somehow unsatisfactory, somehow missing out on the good. There's no craving in Nibbana because it's perfection. So if we can see that we're continuing to crave, and we are, then we need to ask, if we satisfy this craving, will that bring me closer to true and real peace of mind, equanimity, and tranquility? And if it's something you need from the world, the Buddha's answer is no, you won't get it there. Marriage or children or family or careers or promotions, exotic cars, clothing, travel, private airplanes, diamond rings, Rolex watches, whatever it is, and whatever level of financial success we have that allows us to buy things, go places, and do things, by a law of nature, those things do not make us satisfied. And if they did, we'd be satisfied. If we have enough clothes to keep us warm or cool, if we have enough shelter to protect us from the elements, and we have enough food to stay healthy, then everything on top of that is a form of greed, a form of dissatisfaction, a form of not realizing that the more of any of those things we have don't result in any lasting satisfaction. Number 6, solitude or little socializing. One of the cravings we all have is to be around other people. We're told that as humans, we're social beings. Nobody has examined that very carefully, but anyway, that's a common belief in our culture that we should be socializing. And of course, it takes all kinds of forms: a cocktail party, a birthday party, holiday celebrations, family gatherings, going out with friends, family members, movies, sporting events, whatever forms of entertainment we find ourselves craving and enjoying when we're there. Those things are not wrong or bad or sinful. There's no suggestion that they are, but they keep us from having a quiet mind, a distilled mind, a tranquil mind. They distract us, and we love the distraction, we love the excitement, we love the sensations that we get through the 5 senses by socializing. Buddha had a saying, go out from the crossroads. The crossroads would be the equivalent to a little village or a little town, maybe 2 highways, what we might call a highway or roadway, intersect there, and there was always some community, maybe some sales of things, food products or who knows what, but he knows that environment is one that just increases craving and doesn't decrease it. So he recommended that we go out into Mother Nature, where things are living in harmony and in a natural state without craving. So he recommended going to the forest, going and sitting at the base of a tree, sitting in an open field, sitting on a hillside, sitting at the entrance to a cave or an overhanging cliff. Anyway, all suggestions of getting back to nature, because human nature is very complicated. It's full of craving, it's full of suffering, expectation, etc. It's not that there isn't joy and happiness there as well, but even joy from experiences in the world is disturbing. And if we want to quiet the mind to the point where we are more self-aware, more awake at the deepest or deepening levels of becoming awake, socializing will just distract us from that. So talking less, drinking less, being less excited, less entertained, is a way of living a calmer, more peaceful, and equanimous life. Again, these are all decisions we make for ourselves. We take inventory of how much craving and expecting or demanding or insisting or wanting our life is, and where we can cut back on things and experiences. Number 7, arousing energy, not laziness. So, arousing energy is also commonly translated as right effort. We're not going to become at peace with ourselves. We're not going to touch Nibbana without making some effort. We won't get there, so to speak, just lying in bed and saying, I don't want to do anything today, so I'll just lay here in bed. One of the Eightfold Noble Paths, number 6, if I remember, is right effort. And in the 37 Wings of Enlightenment, I believe 9 of them have to do with right effort. So we must make effort. It should be the right kind of effort. I read a study or a part of a study that said people become experts if they do something for 10,000 or more hours. Well, then a few years later, they modified that conclusion and said, if you do something wrong for 10,000 hours, you're an expert at doing it wrong. So right effort is essential, not just any effort. I meditated off and on for many years, and I meditated for long hours from time to time, and it was all wrong effort. And it wasn't until I met my teacher, a fully liberated teacher, that I began to see all that hard work I had been doing wasn't resulting in the tranquility that I was hoping for. So we cannot be lazy. We can, there are several forms of laziness, and one of them is just to be mentally lazy. Never read or never study or never look inside, never practice any kind of insightfulness. Maybe we'll just say lay on the sofa watching TV or something for long periods of time. Laying on the sofa is also a form of physical laziness. So when we're physically lazy, often the living environment we have created for ourselves is not orderly, it's not clean, it's not well maintained. We might not do the laundry as often as we need to, or clean up the kitchen, or clean the bathroom, or other ways that we're both mentally and physically lazy. So the Buddha, as we know, worked for nearly 7 years, working extremely hard, almost killing himself by starvation. But that turned out to be wrong effort. So even the Buddha took some time to figure out what right effort was, and the night he sat down under the Bodhi tree, he determined at that time that he would not get up even if it killed him. So we have as that example that effort is required, and a commitment, a determination, and a patience is required for us to find the Dhamma which is just waiting to be found. And finally, number 8, easy to support, not difficult to support. Well, let's go back to the 4 requisites of food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. How much more than that do we need? And how exotic or how luxurious how much of that do we need in clothing and housing and food to sustain a healthy mental and physical life? We have the saying oftentimes of a woman, but it's equally true of men, high maintenance. Well, our homes, I've owned a home for many years, had children, a single dad, etc. There was constant maintenance. Ultimately, you have to replace roofs, repaint the house, landscape the yard, keep the clothes clean, food in the pantry and in the refrigerator, etc. And these things, they are essentials if we're talking about the 4 essentials, but how much beyond the essential do we need? And we're back to, if we have little, use little. If we have much, use little. If we have much, it's an opportunity to be generous and not to be hoarders. We think of hoarders as something on television, but we're all hoarders. There's almost no one's house or apartment that we could go in where we won't see a great acquisition of material things, as well as possibly investments and money of etc. So here, these 8 are challenging us not to see how others are doing or not doing, who are failing or not failing. A former president said there's no such thing as too much greed. Okay, well, let's examine that for ourselves. Let's examine ways that we are greedy. It's not helpful to see how anyone else may not be living by these values. Okay, that's it for today. If you feel this Dhamma may be a blessing to others, I hope you'll consider pressing like and pressing subscribe so we can share this Dhamma freely given to those who are seeking it. Thank you very much. Hope to see you next time.